welcome Dr. Kamrul Hassan, who's an adjunct professor in Bangladesh and former director of the Bangladesh Academy for Rural Development. Those who are not speaking, could you mute yourself, please? Dr. Hassan was the former director of the Bangladesh Academy for Rural Development, and he joins us as the representative of the African Asian Rural Development Organization, ARDU, which is one of our conference partners. And he's going to talk about the Comprehensive Village Development Program. Over to you, Dr. Hassan.
Thank you very much, respected chair, academician, researchers, ladies and gentlemen. As you know that I'm here to share with you a case related to village development in Bangladesh on the behalf of African Asian Rural Development Organization, ARDU. I have 15 minutes to present my paper on Comprehensive Village Development Program, COVID-19 issues and sustainability experience of Bangladesh. So allow me to have access to my PowerPoint slides.
Pawan, please present the PowerPoint. Go ahead, Dr. Hassan.
Should I move? Because it's not there in the screen.
We can see your slides.
You can see your slides. So should I move?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, ladies. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you understand that I have only 14 slides in my presentation, and time is very short, so I have to rush. Please allow me to speak that way. So the first slide is relating to the introduction to Bangladesh, because I'm going to detail about it as a model village. So I feel that I should share some of the parameters of our background of Bangladesh. So this is a huge populous country. As you see that 163 million people live in Bangladesh, and the population density, one of the highest densities in the world, and 1,124 person per square kilometer. And the land type of the country, 80% of the land has been built up with the river transported soil. It means that the huge catchment area remains outside the Bangladesh, in China, India, Nepal, and Bhutan. And every year we get 1.2 billion metric tons of siltation with the huge water and flow to the Bay of Bengal. And this is one of the ways to build up the whole delta of this, one of the largest delta in the world. So this is a huge climatic risk area. And if 1 meter rise of sea level rise takes place, so 17% land will be inundated, and over 30 million people will be the climate refugee. So the people living below the poverty line before the COVID was 20.3% in 2019, and it is assumed that another 12 to 15% will be added to the benchmark of poverty-stricken population due to the effect of the COVID. Access to the technology improved water sanitary source is 98% according to UNICEF, and often defecation free. This is the sanitation. Basic sanitation identified 64%. Social safety net program, there are 132 safety net programs in Bangladesh, and in the running budget of 2021 and 22, the government has allocated 11.26 billion US dollar for safety net program, because it worked very well during the time of MDGs, Millennium Development Goal, to reduce the level of poverty. Per capita GDP it is estimated that 2,100 US dollar almost, and the volume of GDP is 329 billion US dollar. And growth before COVID was 7.6%. Now it is assumed 3.2% during the COVID. And Gini coefficient of income distribution 39.5%, and it is believed that it will be skewed due to the COVID infection, because the poverty level people will be included here. And if you just compute it with the global figure, in the global growth in the global volume of GDP in 2020 estimated is 84.54 trillion US dollar. And the Gini coefficient of average Gini coefficient was increased, globally increased by 1.5%, and another 150 million people will be added to the benchmark of the poverty-stricken population of the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the second largest garment producer in the world, or export in the world after China, and fourth largest sweetwater fish production, 3.1 million metric tons produced Bangladesh, an outstanding achievement in attaining the MDGs, particularly in reducing child and maternal mortality. Now, the second point, coming to the point, the issue of this particular topic today, the Bangladesh has long history in rural development, and you know that the village development, but structure way development took place in 1960s. When you see the figure there, that the physical infrastructure, institutional infrastructure, and administrative infrastructure, these three together went together to make a village a model village. But today's topic is related to not the physical infrastructure, not the administrative infrastructure. I'm talking about the institutional infrastructure. This institutional infrastructure launched in 1962-63. And because at the time, more than 70% people live below the poverty line in this part of the world. Then East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, 70% people, and the money lenders and few elite people exploited the farmers. So farmers-based organizations started to enhance their food production. So this village-based organization, farmers organization, you know that in one village, 2 or 3 organizations were there. And to give you a sense, about 200 to 250 villages make a sub-district. So this primary village cooperative society federated a democratic body at the sub-district level to make linkages with the national building departments to ensure the support and services, particularly credit and agriculture inputs for this primary cooperative society. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just come after 62 now come to 2005. Over the years, this primary cooperative society changed according to the need of the society into comprehensive village development program. And the first phase of modeling throughout the country took place in 2005 to 2010. And the slide you are observing, it is the third phase, January 2019 to December 2021. And what is this, the comprehensive village development program, which is there that the comprehensive village development project is to create the single base organization, cooperative organization, irrespective of occupations, irrespective of the land holding size, irrespective of the gender. And it works as a platform of receiving support and services available at the sub-district level. The government official, 20 government institutions are there. And 6 principles are, that working behind this type of village-based organization. These are the democratic control of the society, financial participation of the members, autonomy of the society, education and training and inter-cooperative relations, social involvement are being practicing by the member of the society. Listen, before coming to this unique platform, I just carried out a rapid rural appraisals to give you a sense what is the impact of the COVID to this primary based cooperative society, to the grassroots people. So in the last week of August last month, I went there with my group and survey, make a rapid rural appraisal. And I use the tool of focus group discussion, and I focus on case study and personal observations. And now the first table, I have just spare half minute time of that. This is the table, the details that the family involvement with the village-based society. It varies. 68 to 750 families are involved with these 5 cooperative societies, and the members vary 72 to 1,528. And now coming to the second table of my presentation, the capital formation. Capital is one of the resources to reduce the level of poverty and address the livelihoods, different livelihoods of the rural people. So there are 3 types of the capital they have: savings, shares, and fixed asset, including the business unit. So among these 5 villages, the capital they formed about $6,000 to $475,000. This is the variation of US dollar. This is their capital. So capital formation, I just compute 2 years. One is COVID-free and another one is COVID with COVID. The capital formation decrease with the benchmark in all cooperative societies, and it varies from $35 to $600 in the village. And poverty level, that is the most important thing that we survey that area, and the poverty level increased in all cases in 5 villages, and it increased from 9% to 25%, 9%, 25%. Now, table number 5, COVID infection status of villagers under the cooperative societies. Out of the 5 cooperative societies selected, 4 societies have the COVID infections. And COVID infections, number of infections varies from 2 to 55. People died there 1 to 12, and vaccinated people varied according to these societies 10 to 750. Huge demand was there at the time. Now the government of Bangladesh took their initiatives, and the vaccination is more easy to avail. So, ladies and gentlemen, now a few slides I will share that health measure adopted and problem of the infected persons. Isolated himself or herself, that is a big problem for them, if they find that way. And I just read out the 100% consensus in the focus group discussion, not the other parameter, because time is very short. And the second was the family members compelled him or her to stay in isolation, and family members and neighbors help them in his or her bedtime. And according to the problem faced by the patients and the family members, keep them isolated, both patients and the relatives, spend huge money for private treatment. It says that government has, that like all other countries, that people rush to the hospitals. It is impossible to government accommodate to the due to the COVID infected people. And in my sample, it is there that they don't have any access to, they did not have access to the government hospital, and they have private treatment and no treatment support from the government. Now come to the point of the steps adopted to address the COVID situation. I've just talked about the 100%, the common full consensus there. So there are 2 parameters. One parameter is the cooperative society, how did they do? And other ones, the support from the government. The cooperatives say that the benefit of the business, because all cooperatives has benefit business-driven unit. So they have, they distributed the benefit at the end of the year. They did it during the time of COVID. And advisory services given to the members of the cooperative society in the weekly meeting. And from the government, they got they said that the focus group discussion, we get that they got rice, pulses, edible oils, sugar cane, etc., and treatment provided by the local pharmacy. That means that's not local pharmacy; they get treatment support. And now the plan of cooperative to overcome the losses due to the pandemic. What are the plans they are doing after the COVID situation is over? They say that we'll enhance the credit program in terms of both volume and number, and we'll arrange training of different trade-based training to enhance the income generating activities. We'll ensure regular deposit of share and savings. We'll adopt more development projects, and educate and added support will be provided to the cooperatives. And from the government side, the village-based organization, they expect that government should provide them some trade-based training, because government has different training institute there. So they ask them without fee, they can provide trade-based training to this cooperatives, so they can adopt that new income generating activities. And second one is that actually in majority cases, this village-based organization provide credit from their own source because they have enough capital. But for this COVID situation, they need extra fund from the government, and they say that with very less interest or without interest, they need extra some government support from the government. Now I need to spare 2 more slides with you, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly tolerate me. I have 2 or 3 minutes more. So sustainability issues of village-based organization of CBD. So village-based organization, these are sustainability issues that linkage with the government organization in the vertically. Vertically, about 22 government organization districts at the up level, in the sub-district level. So their support and services can be efficiently delivered this platform. So this is vertically linkages, and horizontally it is linkage with the you know that the local government body, the lowest tier of the local government body, and they can jointly take the development programs in rural areas. And it is a registered organization, economically viable democratic organization. Provision of regular monitoring is there, and even the audit system is there. All sorts of activities are carried out through open discussions in both weekly meeting and general meeting. 9 members executive committee is formed with the vote of cooperatives for a duration of 3 years. Financial benefits from business are disbursed among the cooperatives at the end of each year. Now, a few more last slide.
We need to conclude. So if you could just summarize in a few seconds, and then we need to conclude this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Just I take 1 minute more. So ladies and gentlemen, so allow me to, these village-based organizations sustained by their own, because sometimes project was not there in the first phase, and between the second phase, there's no project there. So second phase to third phase, there's no project, but the village-based sustained by their own. And an institutional structure followed by the cooperative laws of the village-based organization ensure spontaneous participation of the village people. And village-based organizations demonstrate a unique example of addressing all aspects of rural life. I repeat, all aspects of rural life through strong leadership and participatory planning, and also establishing network with the national service providers. Village-based organization, we work as a platform of receiving support and services from different nation building departments and non-government organizations too. COVID-19 pandemic hampers organizing training and monthly meeting for and by the villagers. Normal functions of the village-based organization were hampered by the COVID-19, and organizations support villagers during the COVID-19. And last sentence I'd spare that village organizations have become the focal point of development through optimum use of local resources, own capital investment, and receiving assistance from GO and NGOs. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to stop here. Before that, I humbly say that ARDU is a knowledge hub of practical demonstration of so many village development models in Asia and Africa. It works since 1960. So Stanford University and its STIC and rich stakeholder can have mutual cooperation of ARDU. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind patience.
Thank you, Dr. Ahsan.